Welcome. I'll try this again because I didn't have my sound turned on. Welcome. There we go. I guess I need to turn on my wireless mic for it to work. So let's see if I can get my other device up here so I can watch comments if anybody joins me live. So welcome. Hello, Julie. Welcome back. I thought I wasn't going to have any sound there for a second. I wondered what was going on, and it turns out I forgot to turn on the microphone. So it would help if I turned on the microphone. So I think I've got everything set up here. I'll just do a little welcome message quick here, get a little cough drop out just in case. I don't think I talk enough during the day because then when I go online, then I start to cough, usually at the beginning. I think while my voice gets reacclimated to talking. All right. All right. So Julie from Ohio. Is that right? I think that's where we're from. So, or where you're from, rather. I have so many ideas going through my head. Oh, I got it right. I have so many ideas going through my head. I kind of gave a preview last night when we did these cards, and I'll cover those again in a second. But when I started looking at my things, it's just like, oh, I have so many ideas and just not enough time. And because I don't start prepping things until late, because I do things with my husband and well, we got our granddaughter today, so we spent the evening doing things with her. So, I just have to try to balance my time. So, one quick announcement. The starter kit. Julie, I think you told me that you are a hobby demo, so obviously this doesn't apply to you. But for those of you who are watching from the sidelines, and you're on the fence maybe, this is the best offer I have ever seen. Stampin' Up! Offer. I've been a demo since 2017, and I joined basically so I could support my hobby. I wanted whatever the kit was at the time, the bonus. And I thought, oh, I could use a discount for a little while. And here I am 8 years later, loving it. Um, so this best ever offer is basically $90 worth of product for free. Normally, the offer is $125 worth of product, and you only pay $99. They've upped it. Well, they've reduced it. You get the $125 worth of product, but you only have to pay $35, which is amazing. So you're getting that $90 worth of free product. You get free shipping. You get a paper pumpkin kit. You get some business supplies if you want them. If you're just going to support your hobby, obviously you wouldn't need those, some catalogs and such. Um, but then after that, there's all kinds of other perks. So you'll start out with at least a 20% discount on your products. You have the opportunity to build a business. You get um, early access to new catalogs, to promotions, to ordering select products. We have a pre-order time, so it's just really fun. I'm very glad I joined. And I had never heard of Stampin' Up! Before 2015. And I'm not a spring chicken, so obviously I have a granddaughter. Um, but I had never heard of Stampin' Up! Before. I mean, I heard of, Joann's and Michael's and those kinds of places, but had never heard of Stampin' Up! So I was invited to a club from a coworker. So I am so glad that I went. It's been fun. And I love um, on stage conventions. There's demo only events. There's just, and the whole community of having a team. I have a small team. So if anybody wants to join me, I'm more than happy to enlarge my team. But we get together periodically, we share ideas, just craft together. Um, it's just nice to have a community of people that love to do what you do as well. So the second opportunity is still $90 worth of products, but $189 for that normal $99 price. All of those other perks still apply. But this would be if you wanted a bigger ticket item, like maybe you want the Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine, which I think, I'm sure that's over $99 because you can't go over that that threshold. Um, like here, you couldn't go over the $125 threshold. And I'm trying to think what the Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine is, what it costs. But for somebody who's thinking of like those party banner dies, um, they're they're pretty expensive. Or that Advent kit, you could get that for a smoking hot deal. So enough of my little commercial. Yes, it is an awesome deal. So if you've got questions, shoot me a private message. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions for you. So let's do some playing. This is a new stamp that I got, Etched Autumn. It is a single stamp in this set, just one. This is one of the last red rubber stamps that will be coming out. After November, everything is going to be the photopolymer, which I love. I love the photopolymer stamps because I can see through them. I can line things up easier. These, when it's done, it's done. You can't really try to line it up unless you've got like a positioning tool. And you might recognize I've got one of the plates from my Stamparatus. This is a big stamp, so I'm just going to show you kind of how I use these. Sometimes I use my biggest glass block, which is the F block. Sometimes I'll use that. Sometimes I'll leave it right in the case and ink it up there, but we're going to do the baby wipe technique. And here was my just little quickie, let's try it and see if the colors work. So we're going to do that, but I also wanted to show you what it looked like just stamped solid. All right, so this is just with Cajun Craze. And I thought what I could do is slice these, mat them, put them on a card, put a little sentiment on it, you know, kind of like, let's just get this out here. Slice them so that there's some spacing between them and put a sentiment on them. That'll be really cute. So we've got that. I'm going to quick show you how to do this. We may not build an entire card just because I've got so many other things going on in my head that I want to share with you from some of the new things that I got. So I wasn't originally going to get the Gathering Together suite because these didn't do anything for me. And this actually comes with all of these dies here that match these images, the acorn, the mushroom, the leaves and berries. It did not trip my trigger at all. I thought this oak leaf looks kind of hokey to me. I didn't like it. I kind of liked the maple leaf, but again, it didn't do a whole lot for me. I ordered the paper. I liked this, but I thought, "Oh, if I don't really like all of the other things, should I really buy it for one stamp?" Yes, I should have. Um, so I got I got the paper and some other things that went with these items. The paper is gorgeous. And maybe it was just the paper that I got, but I started seeing some things done with these dies and I thought I got to get the whole thing. So I did. And there's also um this embossing folder, this gathering leaves. You can't really see it on here probably. Let me add a little bit more light. You may or may not be able to see it if I zoom in a little bit maybe. But I put the embossing folder on some designer series paper just to see what it would look like. And this is a pattern that kind of matches that. You can kind of see it in person and it does give it some texture. But use the idea for what you will. But that is the cool embossing folder, so I really like that. So let's quick, I don't think you need to have me show you ink it up. You can see here where I was playing with it in my Stamparatus, and it didn't work out really well for me. So I inked this up. I put my paper on here and spread it out. Now you could also, if you've got it, use the brayer. And I think that's what we're going to do tonight, except you have to be careful. You can see how my paper is shifting here. So you have to be really careful that your paper doesn't shift. So we might not use that after all. We'll see. But I'm thinking we might not. Okay. So let's go ahead and start the technique. We are going to use the baby wipe technique for this. Julie, have you done the baby wipe technique before? Let me put this back out a little bit. I don't remember how long you said you've been stamping, but we're going to do the baby wipe technique. So basically, the baby wipe technique is you get a few baby wipes, make sure they're not dry, but also make sure they're not too wet. The last time I was playing with this, my baby wipes got super wet. And then you're going to use just some re-inkers. So I'm going to kind of start from scratch here. I'm going to set this aside. You can sometimes save those depending on how well you wrap them. Let me cut a few pieces of white also. I feel like I'm a little disorganized tonight just because I was so excited when I started playing with the things. And every time I did one thing, it's like, oh, I wonder how this would look. And then I just looked at the clock and thought, oh my goodness, I need to just stop playing and just start doing, because otherwise I might not even get on here before midnight. And we have a field trip planned with our granddaughter tomorrow, so I should really try to get done a little earlier than normal. So I'm just going to make a bunch of these, and you can't see me cutting them down, but I'm just cutting down one piece of cardstock into basically 4 card fronts. So, you know, yesterday when we did these, we took that one piece of white cardstock, stamped down the middle going both ways, and then cut it for our cards. So we did a very simple one. We did one stepped up a little bit with some images. We did another one stepped up a little bit with some matting. And then the last one we did more matting. I frayed the edges. We did the stepped up elements. We did some ink blending. We did some splatter. So this is like stepped up cool card, right? So let's see, because I like that set of colors so much, that's what I'm using again tonight. So basically all of the same colors, probably, we didn't really rely on the pumpkin pie. I don't know that we used, I don't think, yeah, we might have used that for some of the berries yesterday. But anyway, let's get going here. We're going to just put out, you could probably do just 2. I'm going to do 3 because that's what I've always heard. Do 3 baby wipes. And I think mine are damp enough. All right. So because I've got a glass mat, I'm not going to worry about my surface underneath. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting some ink, just dropping it randomly on here. Sometimes I might try to get colors in a certain area if I'm sure of what kind of shape I've got going on. But this one I'm just doing totally random. All right. And I'll just put them off to the left when I'm done. So we'll see, Julie, if you are a fan of the big dies when we're done here tonight. I was pleasantly surprised. All right, so that was our old olive. The first one was the crushed curry. Here we've got some Cajun craze going on. If Sala comes on, she'll probably chide me for Cajun craze again, because I've been using Cajun craze quite a bit recently. So I'm just being generous because I want to have most of it filled in. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some of the pumpkin pie in here, just as some accent. Just kind of fill in some of those random spots. And then we've got early espresso. So I'm not going to use quite as much of the early espresso because I don't want my leaves to look like they're dead, right? And of course, that's the one that comes out the fastest. I don't know why sometimes they come out super fast and sometimes not. All right, so let's get these out of the way. And I am just going to take this and I'm going to press it onto my baby wipe pile here. And hopefully I'm picking up enough. If you've got a positioning tool, you could probably put your baby wipes on the base of your positioning tool and then drop your plate with the stamp on there. And I'm going to go ahead and just lay this on here. And then I'm just going to rub it in. Now, let's just do a test. If I'm really careful, whoops, and hold it, make sure that you've got the feet of your silicone brayer up. Oh, it moved a little bit. I saw it move. So this might not turn out. So be warned, learn from my mistakes. All right, so that's kind of light. I should have gotten a little bit more in the middle there, but I can always fix that by putting some ribbon or some designer series paper, which is what I have on here. I think I have a strip already cut out. So let's do another one on this Very Vanilla. And you can use your baby wipe multiple times. And I don't worry about mixing the colors so much because most of the color is coming off of your stamp onto your cardstock. So it really shouldn't matter. And I wonder if part of my seam down the middle is where I had this. So I'm just going to scooch it down a little bit and see if that helps. And what I could do is put a piece of scrap paper on here so that I don't get ink all over my hands. And then I'm just going to rub rather than use the brayer. It didn't really smudge, which is good. But I love this color palette. Let me put those back up there. And this is the color palette that is in the designer series paper. And I'll pull that over here so you can see how they look. Oh, so I've got that line there too. It must have been from here. So I'm just going to make sure that I put something over that to cover it. But look at the difference from the Very Vanilla to the white. I think the colors look more vibrant with the Very Vanilla. So let's work with that. I'm going to put that off to the side. I'm going to put this off to the side. And we'll clean this up a little bit. You like the idea of using the color combo on your ink pad. What do you mean on your ink pad? Oh, this? Yeah, this is the color coach. Stampin' Up! Gives that to us. Are you aware of that? So as a demo, you can go into the resources for instructors under the print lab and look for the color coach. And what I do is I reduce it to, I think even if you reduced it to like 95 or 90 instead of 100% print size, I printed on a full size sheet of Avery labels, just office supply labels. And then I just cut them and stick them on my ink pads. So you might be able to tell there I've got the previous ones underneath because they change every time there's new in colors released. So I'm going to lay these down so I don't mess those up again. So let's go ahead and find a card base. And I'm just going, oh, I wanted to show you that paper. So here is the gathering together paper. And I'll just pull this out because this paper is gorgeous. If I can get it all out. There we go. So the two-sided here is early espresso with some little like circles on it, like almost coffee droplet sort of things. And there's metallics on all of them. Foiling, I think is what they call it actually. So basic beige is the background there. Oh, this one, I love this plaid, and we're going to use that later. You'll see. This is just the browns and the reds, no greens or yellows in there. And the back is just a very basic geometric design in the basic beige. The old olive with some early espresso, almost like a wood grain on the back. And then this is, well, these are the same except one is basic beige background and this is a white background. And then this one has more of the yellows and greens in it. So I think these are gorgeous. And then there's that Cajun craze background. So I love that. All right, let's go ahead and pull in some other elements here. I am not going to probably glue this together because I don't like how that one looks now. This was for another card. So let's see what we've got. Maybe I'll use, we could use a different, what if I did an early espresso base? I brought all my colors over here. So let's try an early espresso base. I was trying to minimize the need to run around. So if we did something like this, and let's get, I really like that, but I'm going to go with this piece and we'll see how that looks. Let's just cut like maybe a 3/4 inch strip. I've got so much stuff going on my desk here today. And then we're going to go 4 1/4. I can always cut it down. Well, actually probably just 4. So this could go, oops, I guess I did need it longer. Silly me. So let's see how big I have this piece. So that's 4 3/4. We'll get it here. All right. So there's 4 3/4. So if we did that on there, and then maybe a Cajun craze layer. Let's see if I have a little layer on here. Let me get this paper out of the way because I don't think we need that anymore right now. We're going to do, so that's 3 1/2. So let me do 4 at 5 1/4. We can always cut it down if we want to. So if we did something like this, and then a greeting on there, let's say we did a little gather in Cajun craze. And then let's find, I think these nested essential dyes, hopefully they're still active. That's too small. The next one's probably going to be too big. So let's see if maybe that might work on there. Let's cut that out and just see how it looks. We'll see. So do you have big plans for the weekend, Julie? Like I said, we have our granddaughter, so we're gonna do a little outing tomorrow with her, little road trip, and surprise her with a little amusement park that's up in Green Bay. Making cards, I love it. I love it. All right, so here we go. I don't know if I like, that looks kind of funky to me. And I'm not sure if I like this on here or not. The colors go all right, so maybe it'll be all right. And we could do a little gather on here and flourish it with some leaves, some little cutouts here. Maybe one each of these. Oh, I should have done this on Berry Vanilla. That white looks silly. That's why I didn't like it so much. It's like, oh, I don't know if I like that. Let me get some Berry Vanilla. I did not bring that over. We'll try that again. And I'm not going to glue this one all together, I don't think, just because I might want to use some of the elements just for the sake of time. I might want to use some elements for another card. All right, so, oh, I probably should have brought over more of the Very Vanilla. I'll get a bigger piece so I can do some of those leaves. Yeah, I was just playing with stuff too long, far too much goofing around. I can always save that for something else. So we'll do that there. And then, you know what we could do? Let's bring in this again. Oh, that's nice. So twice a month you make 3 cards. So do you plan the cards? Are you like the group leader then? Do you do like card kits for them? What was nice you got together? I love my crafting community. Well, that's kind of cool. And then let's do this one. And then I'm just going to die cut those all out and we'll see what it looks like. Yeah, I actually got together, one of the gals that's on my team has a group of women that she plays bunco with every month. And somebody couldn't play this month, so they needed a sub. So I thought, okay, she asked me, I'll figure I'll sub. Why not? And we had so much fun. I've never played bunco before. First time ever. All right, let me close this so I don't have an accident here. And let's pull out, I'm just going to pull out the little one now because I've got smaller pieces of paper. That'll work better. And hopefully I'm zoomed in enough so you can kind of get the idea of what I'm doing here. Let's go ahead and do gather first. Now, when I have square dies like this, I try to put them through so that the corner leads rather than the straight edge, just because it runs through the machine a little smoother. And then I try to stagger my plates too. All right, so we're done with that one. And then let's do some of these. All right, so somebody else does it at their house, so you just get to play. That's fun. All right, I'm going to get a little bit of washi tape here because I think that will help me out. Oh, that's nice that you each kind of take the role of being a lead basically to teach something. We do, with my upline, we do a shoebox swap every other month when we meet, and we'll each come up with a card. We'll prep everything for however many people are there, along with our sample, and then we end up leaving with all different cards, of course, because we might not all have all the sets. So then we've got samples. Oh, I don't worry about your typos as long as I can get it. I blame it on autocorrect because so often I try to type things and then that is not what I typed. And autocorrect seems to think I need to spell differently. So no worries. I'll ask if I read it and if I don't understand. All right. That one's a little bit off. I think it moved. It's going to have to be close enough. I should pull out some wider washi tape, but that's in another spot in my stamping room. So, all right. So I'm just going to cut these others. Since we've got the machine out here, I may as well cut them out. All right. That's pretty close. This one can come off. And this one can move over. Part of why my dies shift is that my bottom plate here is warped and I just don't feel like replacing it yet because it still works good enough. I'm kind of frugal that way. I will use things until they are just not usable anymore. Even like my blades on my trimmer, when I've used up both sides, because I'll cut all in one direction and then I'll flip my blade around and cut in the other direction, so I'm using both sides of it. When it starts to give me frayed edges, then I just start fraying the edges sometimes and make it look like that's how I wanted it. Oh, now this one shifted again here. Boy, so much for the tape. It's just not doing its job. And hopefully my head's not getting in there. There we go. Yeah, all these little leaves I think are just gorgeous. And you will see later, because I'm going to show how those big ones looked. Because remember, I was not a fan of those big dies because like that oak one just looked really hokey to me. But I'm regretting that I didn't get this sooner because I could have been playing with it much earlier. So I think that's all I'm going to cut out for right now. So let's go ahead and put this away. So I know Fifi had a busy day today, so I don't know that she was going to join us. She was here last night with us. So I think I want to emboss this because that is just too plain for me. And I think I'm going to emboss it on this Gathering Leaves embossing folder. And we're going to go up and down with it. So let me get my big machine out again because this is too wide for the little one again. Yeah, what I don't know if you've been around when I've talked about some of my plates. I have and these aren't marked, but I typically use my bottom plate until I can't stand it anymore, till it breaks, or I want to do something where I have a nice clean plate. And then the one I usually mark is the top plate. So I have that on my little one. So if I have people over, they know this is the top plate. Run this one through as a top plate because I don't want any of the die cuts to show up on here. And then when the bottom plates get so worn that I can't stand them and I figure I need to replace them, then all I do is I get rid of that one. I move the top one to the bottom plate and then I get a new top plate. So I'm only replacing one at a time. Now I know a lot of people will alternate their plates, you know, like this, and they'll flip them and whatever. It's too much for me to remember which direction I had stuff going. So because I am doing just a regular embossing folder, I just need my base plate. And it should be just a cutting plate, my embossing folder, and this. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. Because I took the shim out. Using the standard embossing folders. So I need a 1, a 3, and a 3. So let me offset these just a little bit more. And it could be that this is not a 3D embossing folder, but let's try it as a 3D and see if that works. And again, it might be fighting me because my plate is bent. But let's see if this, well, maybe it is a 3D folder. I don't think it's set on the thing. It just says Gathering Leaves embossing folder, but when you get it, run it through like it's a 3D because that's how it wanted to go through. Figure if it doesn't go through easy, then I try a different sandwich. All right, so let's see how that looks. Yeah, I got the paper first, and then I ended up getting this embossing folder because I thought, oh, that is too pretty not to not have. And then I ended up getting the bundle. So let's see if this looks better. I like it with a little bit of texture on there. And we can put this on here. And then we can put our gather on here. And in fact, maybe that might look kind of silly on that side. It looks like it should be on the left. Kind of weighted on the left for where it opens. All right, and then we can put our gather on here. And just cluster some of these leaves on here. And I'll put some of them up on dimensionals. And add a couple of embellishments. What do you think? Yeah, when the plates get really warped, sometimes it doesn't give you good images when you're cutting out your dies either. It doesn't give you clean cuts, and then you have to run it through a few times. So if you've got smaller dies, run them around the outside of your plates too. Thanks for the hearts, everybody. I love that. So we'll do that, and then we could use these streaked dots. Maybe I will just glue this all together. And I think what I want to do here too is, even though this cut really nice and clean, thank you, Julie. I'm going to go ahead and rough up these edges just because to me it makes it look a little more fall-ish. I saw one of our demonstrators had shared a technique where she uses like a vegetable grater. I don't have that squirrel bundle, but she used like a vegetable grater and she scraped it on the squirrel tail to make it look like a fluffy tail. So I thought that was kind of a fun idea. We'll just curl these corners up a little bit. We'll make it look a little weathered because it's fall. My most favorite season of all, though. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to use my other bottle of glue that has a little bit more in it, maybe. These are both getting kind of empty. Yep. I can usually get it to comply when I tap it down and force the glue into the tip a little bit. I just love how crisp the air gets. This one is pretty well empty, I think. I like how crisp the air gets. I don't mind seeing my breath, when it's cool like that. And I love the colors. So tomorrow with our road trip, we're going to be heading north. We call it up north, but we're going to be heading north, and we should be able to see some nice change of color. We don't have a whole lot by us, but we have some. All right, and I think I'm going to rough up these edges too. Oh, best time to ride horses. Do you have horses, or do you go to stable and rent or whatever you do to ride? I've only ridden, my husband won't ride at all. But when we go on trips with his brother and our sister-in-law, she and I will find a place to ride horses. One of the last times we did it, we were actually in Kentucky, and Black Bear were roaming around and actually came out and sized us up a little bit. Little baby didn't know any better. So, all right. I think that softens up the edges just a little bit. Doesn't make them look quite so harsh. Let's get that centered on there. And this is why I love using the Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue. How long were you in Wisconsin? I don't remember if you said last night, but I do know that you mentioned Hayward, because that's where one of the gals on my team is now. She moved up there maybe about 2 years ago now. She was my craft show buddy. This time of year, we would go around to the local craft fairs. All right, so let's see about. Oh, you probably could. Don't they say it's like riding a, oh no, it's riding a bike. Yeah, my knees sometimes make it a little challenging to get up on a horse. Um, but usually the personnel are pretty helpful too at wherever we've gone. Maybe just the 3 leaves would be enough. Oh, but I had these berry things too. Oh, we'll do it up big. Why not? So let's go ahead and put those on right about there. 10 years or so. Okay. But you still remember. You still remember what Wisconsin is like. It's a gorgeous state. Let's do some dimensionals on here. Yeah, I'm thinking I might have arthritis in mine too. I have either arthritis or like de Quervain's syndrome, and it's not carpal tunnel, but it's just the pain right there in that joint. Um, and I have some arthritis, I guess, in my back. So it happens when we are younger and abuse our bodies, I think. I did gymnastics and track, and volleyball is what really killed my knees. All right, so we're going to put this one over here, and I'm going to put a dimensional on the tip here, dimensional and a half, because that's what came off. And then I'm going to put a little glue here and tuck that under. And then we'll lay, I like the color on this one better. It's a little more vibrant. And we'll just put that, I suppose I should put a little half one, maybe on the stem here, to keep that popped up a little bit. And then maybe on the tip also. I don't even know. I've never been to Hayward, I have to admit. I have not gone up to visit my friend Jeannie. And she comes down here because they still have relatives not far from where I am. So when they come down, she and I try to get together. All right, so there's that one. And I think let's put a couple of these on because I think that would make it look better. So we'll do 1, 2, and 3. Maybe we'll tuck one kind of under there. And then maybe, do I have a Wink of Stella? This might be just about empty also. I've been doing a lot of crafting lately. I think this is, oh, there's some coming down here, I guess. Whoop. Ooh, that was close. So I'm just going to flick some Wink of Stella across here. And you won't be able to see that, but it gives a nice little shimmer. And then I will wipe up where I missed, where I dripped. All right, so there's one card. All right, so that's Baby Wipe and the Etched Autumn stamp, which I think is gorgeous. And I don't often get the background stamps because you get like one and how many different things can you do with it? But just look at here, we stamp it in a single color. How pretty would that be? We stamped it in multiple colors. You could use a brayer and just do brayer colors on it. You could do ink blending. Let's put a little crushed curry on here and see. Yeah, please do. Please do case it. So let's add a little color here, and it's just going to change the whole look of the card, that layer. We'll do a little crushed curry down here. Let's do a little Cajun craze maybe in the middle. And I did rinse my brush out. It was getting pretty stiff, but I might need to rinse it a little bit more. Let's put a little bit of crushed curry down the middle here. Oh, you could absolutely make your own background. If you're like me, you've got plenty of things in your stash that would make it look very similar. And then let's see if we want to use pumpkin pie, maybe. I don't know if I want to use green, but maybe the old olive would be okay. We'll go super light to start with. But now look how different that looks. Just with those little bits of ink blending. So then the other thing that I thought about doing with this one then is, let me get some of this debris out of the way. If we did, I got ink all over my fingers. If we did, let's just slice this down a little bit. Let me put these dies away so I don't lose them, because that would be my speed. I'll misplace them. So if we did, right now we've got 4 by 5 1/4. So if we did this by 3 3/4 by 5, and then 5 divided by 3 is what? I don't know if that'll work. I might have to trim it down a little bit. 5 divided by 3 is a little over 1.5, so 1.6. So let's just do, we'll do 1 5/8, I guess. That'll be pretty close. And 1 5/8, and we'll just cut off this other little edge here. So that's pretty close. Not bad, hey? Me and my computer calculator. All right, and then if we take a piece of probably the Cajun Craze, and we'll do a little tone on tone-ish. And if this then, if we put a little space in between them, that's going to be 5 and, let's do 5 1/4. And we'll do 4. So that worked out pretty good. And then we can lay these on here. Space them out nicely. I usually will, when I start gluing them down, I'll do this where I consider it like a dry fit. And we'll get them spaced out. And then I will do the end ones first when I glue them down. So this one I can move over a little bit. So we'll glue down the end ones first. And I'm left-handed, so I just have to kind of work a little sideways. All right, and I have a little bit of glue squished out there. If there's still any residue on there, I will use my rubber eraser to get that off once it's dried a little bit. You can see this was a side that the paper shifted when I was trying to work on it. Now we could probably run this through some embossing folder too, and if you wanted to add more texture. But I actually think that's pretty good that way. I am going to get somewhere, I thought I had it out here, the early espresso twine with the old olive. It's here somewhere. Here it is. So we'll maybe do a little bit of this. Now I ended up, this just didn't cooperate with me, so I started just pulling and cutting. Because it didn't want to comply, so I didn't want to fight. All right, so let's go ahead and Put a little bow on here. Oh, that didn't work. My ends came out. Try that again. Maybe if I can find the right end to pull. See, sometimes I struggle with bows. I think when I did one last night, I think it worked out pretty good. So I think what I need to do is do it a little bit more in the middle, and then I'll just shift it over. So I have longer ends. So then all I'm going to do is curl my card a little bit. And then this can go on here. And I think I want to put it on dimensionals. So sometimes these cards come together just by sheer accident, because I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And I think we'll bump this up in the middle a little bit too. Oops. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I liked how the image turned out. But I like it even better with a little bit of that ink blending on there. If you didn't realize, I like to do ink blending. Because I think for me, I think it's just such an easy way to step it up. Fifi, you made it. We were talking about you earlier. I said I wasn't sure if you were going to make it tonight because you had a busy day. All right. So that can go there. And then let's just move some of this twine around here. Then we just need to figure out what we want to do for a sentiment. And we could flag something. What does this say? Expressing heartfelt gratitude. Gather. Oh, my Winkostella smeared a little bit. Let's see. That would be kind of pretty, I think. Let's see what we've got here. If I could find the right words, we could probably emboss. That might be a little too dark. That might be a little too dark. So let's see what other stamp sets I have out here. What did I do with them? Oh, here's a nice one. Your friendship means the world to me. I just need to mount that. You can tell these are relatively new. I didn't even mount all the stamps yet. Oh, so you're with a friend. Nice. Welcome, Fifi's friend. All right. I think this is an yeah. All right. Well, you came in. We're just finishing up a couple of fly by the seat of my pants cards, and then we're going to work with those gathering moments or something, whatever it's called. Gathering moments. Dies. All right. So let's get this out of the way. Fifi, I started prepping some stuff for tonight, and I just kept getting more and more and more ideas. And it's like, oh, I have to stop playing and just start. I have to go live and just get it done with, because I would not have been on time, even close to on time. Let me get this out of the way. We're going to go here, and we'll do this in Cajun Craze. So it'll be mostly monochromatic. And I like to hold my stamp there for just a few seconds and let the ink kind of sink into the paper. Those two need to be cleaned. And we'll bring in the little Betsy again. She's getting a workout tonight. And we'll pretty much try to center this. We'll see if my plates comply. All right, so I think that'll look all right. I suppose I could put this right back in here and put these away. I do have this magnet over here. If you see that, it's so helpful because if I just throw my dies over there, then I know I'm not going to lose them. And then this can go here. I don't know that I want to put it on dimensionals. I've got dimensionals here and I don't want it to be so thick that it can't go through the postal service. So I'm just gonna glue that flat. I don't like to pay extra postage if I don't have to. Now, if I'm mailing something to, another country, I get it. Let's see if that'll stick with that twine on there. It might not. We'll just hold it there for a little bit. And if it doesn't want to stay, I'm kind of putting a line in there. So maybe I should put it up on dimensionals. We'll use mini ones. And we'll just, I don't want it to fall off, right? And if I put them on the ends there, it should not interfere with the ones that are in the middle. Hopefully. There, that looks better anyway. All right, so then we need some embellishments. Where did I put those? I tell ya, I'm kind of losing everything tonight. Here they are. And I also like to open up my embellishments. I do my paper this way. I do my embossing folders this way. I do my embellishments so that I don't have to fight with the adhesive that's on the packaging. I open it once. I use just a metal ruler and I slice the side of my package from top to bottom. And then I can just slide my things in and out. And then, I have them here, but it doesn't ruin the packaging. Excuse me. And then I can still get them in and out easy. And I always do mine on the left because I'm left-handed. So I'm going to I should probably use up more of these bigger ones. And again, I'm going to tuck one there. Maybe put one over here and then a little one over here. I find that I use the smaller embellishments more than the bigger ones. I'm not sure why that is. So there's a second one. Baby wipe, plain old stamping, and then some ink blending. All right, so that's etched autumn. Nice. Now let's do a little bit of playing with those big dies. All right, I'm gonna move this over here. So I did bunch of things with these dies. Now, if only I can find all of my parts and pieces, because I thought I had more pieces than this. But we are looking at these dies and this. So Fifi, do you have this, the Gathering Moments? I don't remember if you said you had this set or not. I wasn't going to get this because these big leaves, like I was telling Julie, the big leaves just didn't do it for me. I thought this oak leaf looked really hokey. But the more I started seeing some things, it's like, oh, I really like this. So here's what I did. I got out a couple of my embossing folders that I really like, the Forever Plaid, the Sunflower one, and I just started to play. All right. Now, I also brought in, so here's those strips I was talking about earlier, Julie. So I brought in the textured metallic 12 by 12 specialty paper. And I also brought in this piece because I thought that was really pretty. I brought in that piece from the Autumn Tall, and that's just regular designer series paper. So let me show you a little bit of what I did. We may not end up making them all into cards because we're coming up to like an hour already, huh? Time flies when you're having fun. So with the textured metallic paper, I ran it through with, what did I do with the dies now? I ran it through with just the outline die. So the nice thing with this, and maybe I wasn't paying attention when I first saw them, but these are two parts. So you can use just the outline, or you can use the one that puts the dots in it as well. You can run them through together if you want, because there's no overlap. So you can run them in a single swipe through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And that's kind of important to me. I like to work smarter, not harder if I can. So that you can run through singly or as a duo. Same thing with this maple leaf. And I really like maple leaves. I wish they would do some Japanese maples because I have that kind of tree in my yard as well. So this one you could run through together with the dots or the holes or just the outline. So what I ended up doing is I did this one with the textured metallic paper just with the outline one. And then I ran it through because I thought it would look cool with the sunflower embossing folder. And then what I thought I would try is swiping. Oh, I don't need Memento Black. I need Stays On. Because with the slick finish of that metallic paper, I need something that's going to stay on and not rub off. Okay. So we're going to take this and always, if you don't use Stays On much, it comes with this plastic cover. You want to make sure you put that on there because it'll dry out really quick. And I am just going to swipe. Whoops. I'm going to just swipe some ink on here. And I think there's a black ice technique that they talk about that you can put clear embossing powder on this and heat set it. But I think the metallic is actually pretty shiny on its own. So when that dries, it's going to be fine. And I don't know with the black ice technique if they do multiple layers, but I thought that looked really pretty. And if you put that on a base, let's say we use Um, that's kind of dark. Oh, now you see one of the other things that I did. So I think I'd have to find the right color background. Maybe even, maybe even something like this that would set it off. All right. But the metallic paper makes it look gorgeous. All right. So that's one thing I did with it. And I'll work something out and I'll post it on my Facebook page. Let me get rid of my stays on so that I don't accidentally use that on something else where I don't really want stays on. And then I also thought it was fun to just use that die on the designer series paper. Isn't that fun? And what I ended up doing then is I used, let me put these off to the side. I ended up using the Forever Plaid. And I just put, you can put 2 of these on here because the embossing folder is so big. I spritzed it first, ran it through the embossing folder, and then I just crumpled it up to give it that weathered look. And then this will kind of go like this. Now I need to get another Cajun Craze base here because I ended up using it for the other card. Here we go. So I like my cards in portrait. So I thought we could do something like this, flatten that out a little bit from my crumpling. Probably put some twine around here. If I can find my twine again. Let's pull some of this off. And I thought I would just loop it instead of making a bow. So you could loop some of this around here and just have it as a random kind of added texture on there. Now this one I did with the holes in there. So actually I'm going to want to do like this instead without the holes. And add a little sentiment on there and some gems. Bam, done. So I did a couple of those because I had a strip of paper and 3 of them came out of the paper. So the other thing that you can do with this is you can sew basically a design on here. I'm going to go ahead. My first one, I got lucky. I did the oak leaf and I got very lucky and my piece of twine was the perfect length. So let's just see how this works. And I'm just going to start it and then I'll show you the oak leaf that I finished and you can see how it looks. But if you're not a sewer, don't worry about it. It's not that hard. This doesn't want to come through. Let me try that again. I might have to get out my little needle threader. Usually if I fold it over and just kind of crease it, I can get it. There we go. I can get it through. So what you'll do with this is you can hopefully see all the dots in here. So the die puts dots in there and that's to look like the veins of the leaf. All right. So all we need to do is start sewing and doing like a back stitch. Now you don't have to worry about knotting this. I'm just going to hold it. Sorry for the inky fingers. I'm just going to hold it and start sewing. Now you can do like a back stitch or you can sew up like every other stitch here. And then going to go like this actually. And it's just up and down with your needle. And then I'm going to fill in all of the gaps as I travel back down the other way here. So you would go through every line, you know, every leaf line basically, and just pull in all of those pieces or those veins to make it look like one line, okay? And then we'll go probably, I think we'll just go over here. So I'll just go up and down like I would be sewing on, I don't know, like a button or whatever. And then I just back up on the way back down. That seemed to be the most efficient use of my thread or my twine. And then I'm going to grab this one because there's a little hole there. It's probably hard to see. And then I've got one here. But then I've gotten all of those, and then we'll just move up to the next row, and I'm going to need another piece of twine. This one won't be long enough because this has a lot of avenues to go. So I'll just finish out this one piece of twine here that's on my needle. So the back doesn't have to look pretty. You just want the front to look veiny. And then when I get to the end, I will just use some tear and tape to attach it to the back. Yeah, I hadn't used any kind of sewing or cross stitch or anything on any of my cards either. Oh, and this one I should have gone that way. That one I should have gone that way. So I'm going to pull some of those out because they should all be going like that, I think. I didn't look good enough at that. So make sure your veins are going out how they should be. All right. So that's the basic concept of that. Let me show you the oak leaf that I did already. So this was baby wipe technique. All right. I just did it really light, and this was on very vanilla. Now I tried this little plaid piece on there, thinking I could make like a DSP, and I didn't really care for it. So we just flipped it over and did the big oak leaves on there. And then I did this oak leaf, and I probably could have made that one go that way. I don't think anybody's going to know. I'll put a sentiment or something over that. So I could do something like this. And do I have another base? Let's just get a crushed curry base maybe. This one will be landscaped. So that layer is flat. I didn't crumple it. We could put another layer on there with our little oak leaf, however you want it. Add a sentiment over here, and you've got another card. All right. Or if you like this color combo better, I mean, there's a lot you can do with these big leaves, quite honestly. I was kind of surprised because then I thought too, if I wanted to do like an early espresso, maybe I didn't want to have the twine on there. I could use some of the other designer series paper to make like a paper ribbon, you know, and that early espresso might be a little much on there. So we could do something like this and maybe have some more of the elements die cut and add to the back. But I kind of like this one actually like this with the twine behind it. That was my impromptu card there. Let's just tuck this back in there. All right. So there's that. We'd add a sentiment. And this might actually look better if I put it on some mossy meadow. Let's try a mossy meadow. I actually, the first time I did some stitching, and I saw that Stampin' Up! Had actually done a card with the, there was a pair set that retired earlier this year. Not the paperly pair, but another one. And I had it and I hadn't used it. And I thought, oh, I wish I would have used this sooner because I really liked it. I kind of like that better than the Cajun Craze because there's no yellow tone in there. So I think I might like that better. And then maybe again put some twine behind there. Let's see how it looks. And you might not want your embossed layer crumpled. But again, for me, fall is kind of the rustic time of year. So I was kind of making it look a little rustic. All right, so we got the little pumpkins in there. So I would neaten that up somehow and make it look like it had a purpose back there and add some embellishments. So there's two there. All right, this one could easily go here with a layer of, oh, that could work. Even just like that. Put a little sentiment and some embellishments, probably not the streaked dots because those might be kind of dark. But then I also did that maple leaf here with the designer series paper. And then I figured I would use the early espresso twine. I gotta eventually come up to an end. I've got like 5 ends hanging off on this roll of twine. And then I lost there. We'll start adding, if I can find my needle again. Oh, there. We'll just add some stitching to these. Maybe I can actually stitch it correctly this time instead of just random. But anyway, talking about that pair, I just did cross stitches in each of the corners of the pear layer. And I wish I had a sample still to show you, but I mailed it out. I did a couple of them and they're both gone. I might have to get my needle threader out. This one does not want to comply. The struggle is real. All right, needle threader's coming. We'll cheat. I'll blame the twine. There we go. I got a bunch of those when my son was in Boy Scouts and the boys were learning how to sew. I got them all needle threader things. All right, so let's go ahead and start this one here. I'm going to try to make these veins look like they're supposed to look this time. Branching out. So this is that textured metallic paper. And again, you could do what I did and just keep it, hey, Juju, welcome. You could just emboss it, or you could die cut it without that center die, without the circles, without the holes in it. And then you could either just use it flat or you could run it through the embossing folder and not have the holes for stitching. But I think the stitching does add kind of a fun element to it. I was going to say happy Friday, everybody, but for some of us, it's Saturday now. So we'll just go here and we'll see how far my twine takes me. So this is the Gathering Moments bundle slash suite. I ended up getting all of the pieces. I think it took me 3 orders to finally say, I'll just get each of the things. Just get all the things. All right. So there's that. And then we'll go right up here because I still have a little bit of twine left on this length here. So you'll have the idea of what we're doing. And the stitching on here was actually from some of the Stampin' Up! Samples. And I'm guessing whatever concept artist came up with this did it on purpose. Slow stitching, is that what we call it? Is slow stitching? Yeah, you can't do it on a machine. Although if you did it without the die that had the holes in it, you might be able to put it through a machine. I'm just thinking it might ruin the paper. It's not something I'd want to do every day, and it's not something I would mass produce. It would need to be somebody special to send this to. So you get the idea of how that's going to look. So there's the oak leaf, there's the start of the maple leaf. This maple leaf, I think, with this designer series paper, and I put it through the Forever Plaid embossing folder. You're not going to be able to see that on here, I'm sure, but it gives it a little extra texture. What I thought I would do with that is put it on the crushed curry, because there's just a little bit of the crushed curry in there, and then maybe accent it with I don't want to lose my needle. Accent it with some early espresso. So let me cut a couple of those. Here's another piece that I can finish sewing on that one later. I'll keep that handy because that was actually kind of going there. So let's do, I think I have a crushed curry here. Oh, of course, I was going to do that as a layer, wasn't I? And then put it on an early espresso base. There we go. All right. Now this crushed curry layer is probably another one I'm going to want to emboss. just to give it a little bit more personality. Because to me that looks super plain. And I think actually, even if it was embossed, I don't even know that I'd be happy with it. So let's just do something here. Well, you could do 15 stitches and take a break, and then do 15 stitches and take a break. I'm going to take this over to my other machine so I don't have to disrupt everything on the table. And I'll emboss it. And then I think what we're going to do is cut the pieces apart and layer them behind that element and see how that looks. You have any good plans for the weekend, Juju? Julie's going to be crafting. I don't know what Fifi's going to do, but we're taking our granddaughter on a field trip tomorrow up to Green Bay. All right, so I think what I want to do is cut this into some narrower strips. So let's go. We'll just see how it looks. And if I ruin it, it's just paper. I can always make more, another base. And I'm just going to do these all at 1.5 inches. So we could do something random like this. Cut those down a little shorter. Is that too random? I'm usually kind of a little OCD. So I think if I get another layer of early espresso, I think Cajun Craze would make it look just a little too crazy. So let's do another layer here. Do 4 1/8. We put this under here and attach that. We can put this up on dimensionals then. What do you think of that? And I would stitch the veins on this one, I think. Yeah, I think I would stitch the veins on that one and see how it looks. And I think that's all the little pieces I have. So Julie, what do you think of the big leaves now? Are they a little more fun? You've had a long week, huh, Juju? Crafting withdrawal? All right. So I think that one I might do a little canted on there because the leaf is a little canted. Maybe do it like that and add my sentiments. This one, I think I kind of like that. I think I might actually glue these down now. I need to trim these a little shorter though. Long week. And then you're still kind of like on call for the weekend, right? If something comes up. I think we'll do 3 7/8 and see if that works for these. See if that's short enough. Yeah, that'll work. All right, so I'll go ahead and put those on. Yeah, I don't miss working, let me tell you. I do not miss it. And I worked so independently in my job. I was very specialized in what I did. So, I mean, I had a lot of interaction with people in our program, but I worked very independently. So it's not even like I missed the interaction with people because most of it was a lot of email and sending documents and stuff. So now when I would go out onto the fire ground, that was a little more fun. Administering tests, I got to, see a lot of the students. Oh, that was a little wider than I expected it to be. Wonder if I can still shift this over a little bit. I thought I'd dry fit that better. Guess not. So we've got 6 cards kind of laid out here tonight. And a couple of extra pieces here. Let's move this over a little bit more. All right, that'll work. I'm just going to trim just a little bit off of there so it's more the same as that one. Yeah, 6 cards, right? Wow. Who knew I could do 6 cards? All right, we'll put this up on dimensionals. So you're going to get some crafting time in over the weekend, Juju? Okay, got them all. I think this is the last one I'll kind of put together here. And I'm going to call it a night because we've got our little field trip tomorrow for our granddaughter. And this one I'm going to sew on. I'm going to stitch on some veins anyway. And I could actually do a couple of, oh, that might be kind of fun. Of course, the patterns might get lost in there. I might need to do it in a plain color. So this is one where I embossed with that sunflower embossing folder. There's some stitching on that one. So yeah, I'll figure out what to do with this one. I'll put some stitching in there, I'm pretty sure, to dress that up. And I think that's it. Well, I thought I saw your thing come up as live, and I don't know that I noticed it early in the week or not. Obviously, I didn't. So, well, I'm glad you got some time to craft. All right. Oh, that could go there because this is a white background. That could work. There, I like that. I like it, I like it, I like it. I don't know that I like that one. So anyway, so this is a start. 4 layouts there. This one's pretty close to done. I'm just going to put some stitching on. These I'll attach. I might put a layer of basic beige between the early espresso and the Cajun craze. You got messy. You like getting messy. I've heard you say that. You like getting messy. All right, so let me move these things out of the way so I can kind of spread these cards out a little bit. These need to be cleaned. Yeah, if you haven't been able to craft all week, I don't know what I would do now if I didn't craft for a week. Because I'm in here every day doing stuff. All right, I think I have everything wiped off here. If not, they'll be fine for tomorrow. All right, so here's a few cards. This one needs something. I'm going to figure out what to do with that one. Maybe I'll cut this layer down smaller and maybe put some old olive in there. That might work. Let's take a look and see if I have a piece I can work with here. There we go. I do 4 by 5/4. And then if I trim this one down, probably 3 3/4. Oops. 3 3/4 this way. That was a close call. And then we'll do that by 5. This would be like Packer colors. There we go. I don't know if I like that either. I'm thinking I don't like that. Maybe some cherry cobbler. Juju, you embossed with a folder? Wow. We're going to throw in another color here. Let's see, I need 5 1/4, I think. Oh, I think that gives it a much warmer look. And that pulls out some of the Cajun craze actually without it being Cajun craze. So that's cherry cobbler. It pulls out, it makes it almost look like it's red. Yeah, it's not, they're actually different colors, but I think I like that better. It looks close enough that, I mean, anybody seeing it would think it's the same color. But this is the Cajun craze that's actually in the leaf. And then I'll get the cherry cobbler. And here's the cherry cobbler of that background. So they are rust and red, very different, but I think this enhances the color on that because it's pretty subtle. I think I like that better. So that's all I'm doing tonight. Yeah, definitely better than the green version. And then here's the first 2 cards I did. So we took, here it is. We took the Etched Autumn. This is a single background stamp. It's a full-size stamp. We did the baby wipe technique, if you're familiar with that. Made a little bit of a mess. So we got messy tonight too. So I'm going to get rid of that, which is kind of why my fingers are all inky. But we did baby wipe technique on this one, including the elements from the stamps and the dies. Yes, we did get our craze on, our crazy on. All right, and then this one, I inked it with just a single color. I had this done ahead of time, and then I did ink blending. So I added some crushed curry, I added some of the Cajun craze and a little bit of the old olive, split it into panels, put it up on another layer, and wrapped some twine around it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. What do you know? I think that's a record. I think the most I've done before was 5. And then we actually have some elements for some additional ones too. So that's it. I'm calling it a night. I am calling it a night. so that I can get some sleep. We're going to get up and do some chicken chores in the morning. And our granddaughter doesn't know that we're going up to Green Bay, but there's an amusement park up there. Rides are like a quarter. So we're going to go up. We're going to have some lunch. She's going to ride on some rides and we'll head home. And that'll be a day. So I will still be on here tomorrow night. I was hoping I could do a guest stamping episode with Riley, but we'll be gone most of the day. So it kind of depends on what time we get back. Thanks for all the hearts, you guys. I love that. That helps. Um, so that's it. That's all I have for tonight. That's more than I usually do. And we're like an hour and a half. What do you know? So thanks for joining me, everyone. Enjoy your weekend and happy crafting. So until next time, thank you, everybody.